England Patriots are going into Pittsburgh. The Patriots are 2-point underdogs. Pittsburgh actually got the week 1 victory. A lot of people weren't expecting that coming against last year's AFC champion. Blake, you had the opportunity to be in the stands for that one?
Well, let me just say to start out, I mean, there is not many differences between these two teams right now in terms of their defenses and how poor their offenses are. Of course, I am still a little salty over the loss to the Steelers beforehand, but this is still a Steelers team that has a lot to improve all around. I mean, their offense was horrible. One of the worst offense performances we've seen in a while. And, you know, luckily for them, their team they're playing against probably had one that was just as bad, if not worse on offense. So it's not the end of the world for Pittsburgh, but you also lose TJ Watt for this foreseeable future right now. This is a team that is going to, you know, be down a lot of important players for this game. And I think that despite the, you know, New England being the underdogs of this game, I do think this is going to be an uphill climb for Pittsburgh. I actually think it's going to be harder for them to win this game than New England, despite being at home. I do think that Pittsburgh is capable of winning this game if they're able to, you know, draw up another good game plan on offense this week. But, you know, the Bengals looked like the best defense in the NFL last week. And, you know, they lost that game, you know, with 5 turnovers. You know, New England's not going to do that. New England has just as good of a defense, if not a better defense than the Bengals do. And they are going to find a way to, you know, completely shut down anything that the Steelers put in front of them on offense. So this is going to be a very interesting game. I'm not shocked that this game just goes 6-3 because no one's going to score points in this game. But I definitely think that this is going to be a very, very fun and interesting game because there's no offense at all.
Kyle, is this going to be an Iowa Hawkeye shootout in Pittsburgh?
An Iowa Hawkeye shootout. It's going to be a lot of running. I'll say that. There's going to be a lot of running the football in this game. Even if the Steelers don't have Najee Harris, even so, the best way to attack the Patriots is by running the football. This is going to be a weird game. I know it's going to pop up on the Red Zone channel every now and again. And
is it
the Patriot?
Is it for a field goal?
Yeah, good point. But it's probably going to be close at the end of the game. So, like, I don't know, as Mac Jones and Mitchell Trubisky like sputter their way and don't move the football down the field at the end of the game, it's got to show up at some point.
I'm just picturing, what's his name, Scott Hansen, just anytime this game comes up on the clicker, like, oh God, this one again.
No, that's Washington-Detroit. That Washington-Detroit is that this week.
That could be fun. That could be fun. Look at what happened with Washington-Jacksonville. That was a little bit of a shootout, came down to the wire. Detroit with their comeback efforts against Philadelphia the previous week. Hey, Washington and Detroit might be a fun game. This might be a snooze fest.
It'll be more fun because there's going to be a lot of scoring, but then, you know, like I'm going to turn around and all of a sudden Pittsburgh's offense is going to look competent instead of the absolute shit show that they put on the field against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Different folks, Kyle. Different strokes for different folks. If you like that,
some people like Iowa football.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You have this game. If you want to have something similar to the really bad version of Chiefs Rams from a couple years ago, then maybe you turn on Detroit and Washington.
Yeah, it's like those old Cowboys Falcons from 5 years ago where both teams, their defenses are terrible. Both are going to score in the 30s. It's going to be a coin toss at the end of the game.
Watch, we're shitting on this game and this is going to age so poorly. It's going to be like 30-28 or something. And we'll be like, how the fuck did that happen?
In fairness, I think Carson Wentz versus Jared Goff might be somehow more interesting than Mac Jones versus Mitchell Trubisky in a weird, messed up universe.
Good call. You know, former 1, number 2 pick going against each other in a head-to-head always kind of has a storyline. This, I mean, just Mitch versus the new Mitch, right?
Yeah. Is there a difference between either of them? They're the exact same quarterback, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
The difference
all 4
is
of them.
One has another quarterback that was drafted in the first round breathing down his neck. There is that. The other has Bailey Zappi breathing down his neck.
Patriots fans want him to play so bad. It's so weird. Anyways, for this game, I said I was going to shit on the Steelers offense, and I will make sure to take the Washington, Detroit, and New England offenses down with me because all of those teams are terrible. Pittsburgh should have won that game by 28 points against the Bengals. The only reason it was close is because for 68 and a half minutes of NFL football, the Pittsburgh Steelers basically scored 3 points on offense that were not off of turnovers. Like they scored 3 offensive points. And then Mitch Trubisky had one of those, a broken clock is right twice a day moments where he hit Pat Freiermuth on a fader down the field that was like the most amazing pass Mitch Trubisky has ever thrown, except for the amazing pass that he scored in garbage time of that playoff game against the Saints. Like, it was like just a broken clock is right twice a day. Mitch hit Freiermuth. It was a great play, and the Steelers won only because Zach Taylor punted the ball 21 seconds early on a running clock in overtime, because Zach Taylor is an incompetent head coach. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are now obviously down Najee Harris. Mitch Trubisky didn't get the ball to Deontay Johnson much, although Claypool was a huge part of the offense in that game. So maybe that changes. We think of the Patriots as like the team that's like, hey, they take away your best thing and they have these horses on defense. And I don't think they have that this year.
Just want to jump in here. Najee actually is expected to play. For whatever that's worth, Najee is expected to play. He did re-aggravate his foot injury from the offseason, though. So from a fantasy football perspective, I mentioned this. This is concerning. Certainly, if you have the opportunity to pick up Jaylen Warren, great stash. Throwing that out there. Just want to put that on people's radar. Jaylen Warren, great stash. Yeah, Najee should be in this game, if that changes your math at all.
I mean, the Steelers want to run the football against the Patriots because, yeah, the Patriots' corners are bad, but also the Steelers' passing game is not great. So that's not really a great takeaway there for them. So they're going to want to run the football. We trust the Patriots running game and also trust the Steelers running game. The Steelers defense is really good, but if you take away TJ Watt, what does it look like? And there's going to be a lot of questions, and they will all probably be answered by a 14-13 slugfest that comes out at the very end of the game.
So the over-under is 40 points. Got to put that out there. 40 points for an NFL game. That is the current line. Okay, well, talking about it, you mentioned broken clock is right twice a day. I might take that because I don't know how right a day Mac Jones is most of the time. Obviously, it's a very conservative offense at best, and at worst, it's a pathetic offense.
It's an offense run by defensive coaches, too.
Yeah, this is just a downward spiral that the New England Patriots find themselves on. And unfortunately, you're just looking around the conference, you just see all these exciting young quarterbacks slinging it around. And Mac Jones, does he have that gear in him? I mean, you guys, I know you've talked about it in the past, and you gave him a 3rd round grade in terms of being a prospect. So clearly your guys aren't high on him. I look at him and, okay, you want him to maybe be, let's say, best case scenario, right? Kirk Cousins. I would say that would probably be the best case scenario for Mac Jones the rest of his career. And hey, before you give the sign here, we got to talk about that. That's a 4,000 yard passer. That's 30 touchdowns a year, less than 10 picks. That's good stuff. The problem is I just don't think that the Patriots' current coaching staff will ever allow Mac Jones to ever even to develop into that. We saw the same coaching staff, or obviously McDaniel's gone, but we saw this overall core of a coaching staff give him 3 pass attempts in a game last year. They don't even believe in him. That's what that tells me. If they have the opportunity to take the ball out of his hands, they will do it. They will give it to Damian Harris or a Brandon Bolden type, or some undrafted rookie that they found on a lacrosse team somewhere. That's who they would rather give the ball to in crunch time. And Mac, I will say I'm impressed by his commitment this offseason. He got in better shape. He lost a lot of weight. I think that he did the right steps to get better as an NFL quarterback, but I just don't know if he ever has that gear. And that was part of the problem whenever the Niners were discussing, should we draft Mac Jones at 3 versus Justin Fields or Trey Lance? You always knew that there was a floor. Like, if you needed to win now, which the Patriots did, they needed to get back in the playoffs after Brady had just won a championship. Mac Jones was a good pick, a smart pick, a sound pick at that point. No one disputed he was the most pro-ready quarterback out of that little tier. But when you needed a guy 3 years from now, which the Patriots in the Josh Allen era they now live in the AFC East needed a guy that could ascend to a higher level, they didn't do that. They went with the safe pick. I get it. We all need our safety blanket from time to time, right? There's something that we all go to, some comfort food. It turns out the comfort food for the New England Patriots was mac and cheese. That's what they got. And hey, I can't dispute the results, but it got them to the playoffs last year. I just don't think it's going to get into the playoffs this year. I think Bill Belichick is on his last leg. And that's why at home, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that the defensive weapons they still have are still impressive. Mitch, I think, is actually going to be improved in this game. Something tells me that Mitch is going to have every now and then, like you said, he does have his moments. He does have his flash in the pan moments, Kyle. And I think that we're going to see that this week. He still has good offense weapons. If Najee's playing, Claypool's there, Deontay Johnson. I like all of these guys. I think they're all great talents. Pickens, maybe we see a breakout performance from him. I like all of their offensive staff more than I like any of the New England Patriots offensive staff. So you know what? That's just why I look at the Steelers. I like them this week. I like them. The +2. Yeah, it just went out right for what it's worth. Kyle, prediction?
I'm betting Patriots, and the reason I'm betting Patriots is because I trust Vegas to be correct. Like 75% of the money is on the Steelers right now. About 70% of the money line is on Pittsburgh. So, and they're also saying bet the under based on the numbers here. So it looks like it is going to be one of those like 14-13 games. And I'll take the Patriots as like an evening out week. Both of these teams belong at 1-1. And so I'll take the Patriots to win. They're 2-point favorites, which was a little surprising to me. But yeah, I'll take New England to win this week.
You spurned me with no helmets this week. I will say that, Kyle. Come on. When will the helmets
they'll come back? They'll
Bring
come back
them
next
back.
week.
Anyway,
I'll come back next week. I'm
Blake,
sitting in my kitchen, so I'll get them
send
eventually.
us home.
Yeah, I'm betting the under. Let me just get that straight. That's going to happen immediately. I'm gonna put that in a parlay right now and hopefully make some money. But aside from that, I think this is a game that I look at this and I'm like, man, TJ Watt would be the difference maker here. If TJ Watt was healthy, he would be the difference maker. You need that guy on your team. He's not playing. And I do think it's going to be a big deal for Pittsburgh. I don't see them having as much success on the defensive line as what they have had in the past. Alex Highsmith had a really, really good game last week, but it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Is that really anything to count for? I don't really think so. I think the Patriots offensive line is probably a little bit better. I know they have a better left tackle than Jonah Williams. So I think this is going to be a really, really tough game for Pittsburgh if they're not able to generate any pressure against the New England Patriots. And I think overall it's going to be a very, very low scoring game, but I do look for the Patriots to hopefully open up with this offense. I think Ramondre Stevenson is one of the most underrated players in the league right now. I am waiting for him to break out. He's going to be a really good running back. I think this is his breakout game. I'm going to take the Patriots to win and cover.
All right, guys, we have another guest joining us this week. Jude. Blake has been on the podcast before. Blake, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you on social media.
I'm everywhere on social media. If you're interested in my Bengals content, which is what I do a lot, got my logo on my own t-shirt here. Follow me on Instagram at StripeHypeCincy, where I post all Bengals content on. But if you want more variety, my Twitter at BlakeJude714. I do pretty much every football there. I'm going to be doing a lot of betting stuff this season in football. I'm going to be keeping up with college football, NFL, all of that. So make sure you follow me on my Twitter for all of that content.
Check out Blake for all Bengals content, all sporting content, great draft analyst as well. Follow us on social media at Slumpbuster Podcast. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and comment about whatever we were talking about in this video. I don't know what it is. This is just going to be a general outro tag. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. Juju Talk Sports. Kyle Ledbetter here. We'll see you next time.